Alrighty, let's get started with the contact section. Just a quick overview of how we're going to code it. I'm going to use the snipping tool again. Let's take the contact, and if you notice this, we have one whole like big container in here, right? That is split into two. So we have the left side and the right side. So we're gonna like have a container, okay? And then we're gonna give this an item. So maybe this is more important. So we're gonna make this bigger compared to this part, but we'll see, right? So we'll have this item. Inside this inner item, we're gonna have a new container. And the container will be all of these items. So the container will be everything, okay, all of this, and it will have different grid items. For example, this, that, right? So that's going to be a contact form, and similar thing here. So that's going to be a container right there, right? And every row you see is going to be a grid item, right? That's what I'm thinking of how we'll be coding this part. But let's start and let's just start coding it. I can't speak there. All right. So I'm gonna go back to our code. Let's minimize the skills. We've done that. I'm gonna open our code just to see if everything is fine. It kind of looks like it is. So yeah, let's just go back here and see what we want to do. So let's do contacts. I'm also gonna do the CSS. So let's go down, all the way down, and then just create a contacts. So contact, and then end of contact. Section. Okay, so contact section and end of contact section. So let's start with all the fonts and stuff. We're going to be using a lot, probably a lot, like that's what I'm thinking. We're going to be using a lot of material, UI grid, container, and the items. So let's start with the left side. What I'm going to do first is have two grid items. So grid item, okay. I'm gonna give this an excess of 12. So if it's a small screen, an extra small screen, make it take the full width. But if okay, so we're gonna make it 7 unless, okay, let's make it 7 unless it's an LG. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So let's make it 7 unless it's an LG. Okay, so if it's on LG or above, it's gonna take like 70%, no, 7 out of 12 of the width, and the remaining is going to take 5 out of 12 of the width, right? And if it's anything under LG, it's going to take 12. So we have the grid item there. I'm just going to comment this out as well. So left, or I'm going to call this contact form, okay? And then the right side is going to be contact information. So let's copy, paste, and contact information. Okay, LG 5. Alrighty, cool. So let's start with the contact form. So the first thing we need is the title, right? We've created that a couple of times, so let's just copy and paste that in. Visual Studio Code. So we have the title in skills, for example. No, we don't have it in skills. We chose the place where we don't have it. Okay, cool. Let's go in there, right? So in there, so we have a grid item. What we want to do first is we want to put everything inside a container. So remember, this will be a container and then everything will be a grid item, right? So let's have a container inside. So grid container, right? And then inside the container, we can have our first grid item, and then we can put our title in there. So I have, wait, so I need to get rid of one grid, right? So grid container, grid item. So we have the first title in there. We're going to call this title contact form, right? Contact form. Let's just see if it works, right? And we're not like doing nothing. Right, perfect. We have a contact form. What we want to do is have a padding, because if I zoom in, not sure if you can see it, but if I zoom in, watch this. So we have a gray section, right? And then we need a padding on top, or a margin on top, right? So I'm just gonna have some padding around this item. So around the container itself, I'm just open Visual Studio. So for this section, this section here, what I'm gonna say is let's have a padding of 50, right? Yeah, I think so. Or we can have a padding bottom. Oh, wait, no, we need a margin bottom. So let's have a padding top of 45. So padding top underscore 45. Save. Cool. Yeah, we have enough space now. So, all right, cool. So that'll do. So going back to the website, we have that. So that's our first grid item. Now let's have another grid item, which will be the form, right? So let's have a grid item, and that will be the wait, typo, grid item, and that will be the form. Oh my days, bro. All right. So inside the form, what do we need? So we need another. We need a grid. Okay, so we're gonna have a grid container again. It's gonna have a grid item, grid item, grid item. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I don't know if this is too messy. We can probably definitely simplify it like 100%, but I'm just doing that, and it will work for sure. So we'll have a grid container, right? We have a grid container. So that will be the entire form, and then inside the grid container, we're gonna have grid item for every element. So we're gonna take, for the first grid item, which is gonna be the name field, grid item, we're gonna give it, so if it's a mobile screen, it should take the full width, right? You don't want to divide it into 2 on a mobile screen. That's gonna be really bad. But it's from a tablet or above, let's divide it into 2. So that's gonna be first, and that's gonna be the name. And then in there, I'm just gonna pass in the text field from Material UI. So text field, let's make it full width. That's a prop as well. Let's give it a name equals to name, and then the label will be name. Let's save and see if that works. Let's go back to application. Not really, but so we have a grid, we have a container. Wait. We have a container, and then we have an item inside, which is the title, right? What if I wait? So give me a second. I'm gonna pause the video. Actually, no, wait. So if why is this going to the side and not under it? So we have another grid item. Okay, if I give this a class name of margin top, wait, I gave this a class name of margin bottom. So if I do access 12 here, no wait, if I do access 12 there. Oh, okay, cool. So we want, okay. So here's what I was, okay, wait, let me put it the other thing, right? So this is the first row. This grid item is the first row. This grid item is going to be the next row, okay? And for the next row, which is this and that, we wanted to take up the full width. And then inside of that, we're gonna divide by 2, right? So inside of it, I have a grid item, and then I'm gonna have another grid item as well. Another grid, and the third one as well. Let's have all 3. But the last one is gonna be full width. So the first 2 are gonna be divided into 2, right? 6 and 6, and this is gonna be 12, right? So let's go back here. Hopefully this should work. I don't know, it's kind of confusing. But we can have it for the last one, right? We can have email here, and the label will be email. And then for the last one, we can name it message, and the label will be message. Let's see if that's fine. Cool, perfect. Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna add some spacing and stuff later, right? So message, and then let us have PB_45 here as well. 1 second, just so there's some space after the form. Cool, perfect. So okay, never mind. So we have the name, we have the email. I'm gonna add some spacing. So inside this grid container, what I'm gonna do is have some spacing off on 2. That should be fine. Cool. And we want to make this multi-line, right? So Material UI have a prop called multi-line, and you can define how many rows do you want as well. So like how many lines should it be? So I'm gonna say I want it to be 3 rows. Let's see if 3 is fine. No, 3 is too small. Let's make it 4. 4. I think 4 should be fine. Yeah, I think 4 is fine, right? Yeah, I think 4 is fine. Yep, I think 4 should be fine. You can make it 5 as well if you want. But it's a name, email, label, and then right towards the end, after the label, we're gonna have another grid item, which is gonna be the button. So grid item. Let's make it full width as well. Access 12, and the button is again the custom button that we have, right? So I think we've already imported it here. Custom button, and then we're not going to pass in an icon, just a text, and the text is going to be a submit. Okay, cool, nice. Save. Now custom button is not defined, so we haven't imported it. So we want to import it from, let me just right here, so import custom button from. So where do you want to go? We want to go up 2 steps and then into components and then into button and then take the button.js. Save. Nice, cool. That works. Right. Maybe we can increase the spacing to 3 instead of 2. So let's increase the spacing to 3. I think I like this more. Yep. So on the right side, we're gonna have the contact information. So that was the left side. I don't think we need to style it, do we? I don't think so. This is like everything's properly styled. So let's go ahead and do the contact information. So give me a second. Something's wrong. Okay, cool. So for the contact information, let's go back here. Again, we're gonna have a grid item, right? So that's gonna be a grid container, and this is gonna be one grid item. This is probably gonna be another grid container and then item inside, and that's gonna be another grid container and item inside. Okay, so let's start. So inside the context information, the first thing we need is the title, right? So I'm going to create a grid container first, grid container, and then let's do this right there. Copy that, paste it in there, contacts information. Cool. So you have the contact information. The next grid item we want is everything else, right? As in like just this stuff here, just that stuff there. So I'm gonna say grid. So first of all, we need an item, okay? Because an item goes inside a container. You cannot have a container inside container, right? So grid item. Let's make it full width. Access equals 12. And then do we need a class name? I don't think we'll see if we need to style it. So let's close that. Now let's have a grid container in there, right? I can't do a single spelling right, but okay, container in there, right? And now inside the grid container, which is going to be this entire container, we're going to have individual items. So let's have a grid item. Inside the grid item, we're just going to have a typography. It's just going to be text. So typography, and then maybe we might have to style this for the font size and all of that. So let's give it a class name. Class name is equal to contact contacts info underscore item. So this is going to be an individual item. Okay, so in there, what are the things we need? We need an address, we need a phone, we need, let's do them one by one. So let's start with address, right? So I'm going to say address. Wait, let's do that. So I'm going to say span first, because this has some different styling than the value, right? The key is different and the value is different, like styling wise. So I'm going to say span, and I'm going to say address, right? And then for the address, with some space as well. And then in there, after that, let's do resume data dot address. Let's save and see if we get that. Cool, perfect. We do get it. We're gonna add some more spacing maybe between the two items, but yeah, we do get it, right? So we have the address. I'm gonna copy and paste this a couple times. So at least we need an address, phone, and email, 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm gonna say phone, email, and then email, phone there. So we have that. And then what else do we need? Okay, so let's give each of these grid items, or we can put all of that inside. We don't need several grid items, I think. We can just put everything inside one, right? Maybe not, wait. So let's have access 12 everywhere. Access 12. So every grid item is going to take the full width. Cool. Alright, that's fine. Does it have some spacing? Yep. So let's add spacing there. Spacing is equal to 2 maybe. So it's going to have some more spacing between each element. Nice. And then so we have email. Okay, I guess we can just do the remaining socials under it, right? Give me a second. Let me just confirm. So remaining socials. Okay, so we're gonna create a new grid container. So grid container, grid item. So we're gonna need a new grid item now. So let's minimize that, and then right after that, I'm gonna say grid item. Okay, let's give this a full width as well. So access is equal to 12, right? And then inside this grid item, we're gonna have a grid container, right? We need a grid container. Okay, 1 second, I got a message. Grid container, and then inside the grid container, we're gonna do some stuff, right? We're gonna have individual grid items for all of these, right? So what we can do is we're going to map through the socials that we have, right? So it's an object, so object.keys, and then resume data dot socials, and then we want to map for that. So dot map, okay, map, and then we're going to get an individual key, right? So with that key, we want to return something. So we want to return. So now that we have a container, we want to return grid items, right? Several grid items. So grid item, and then let's close that. Grid, and then we want to give it the icon with a link, right? So all of the icons will have a link, right? So we're going to say an A tag. We're going to give it an A tag. So ahref, okay, it's going to be this. Give me a second, and in there we're gonna say something else as well. So resume data socials, key dot icon, because the wait, you're gonna say it, right? So if I copy that there, and the link goes here. Link. If you're confused, just refer to the resume data file, and let's see what we get right now. Nice, so we got that. So I guess the only thing remaining is styling it, right? So let's give everything a class name. So starting here, okay, we've given these a class name, right? Contact item, contact item, contact item. We've given them a class name. Let's give stuff in here a class name as well. So I'm going to start with the container, and then I'm going to say, let's give this a class name of contact info. So we have contact info underscore the socials container. Okay, so that's all of it, right? And then in here, as in that's all of that, sorry. Okay, and then what we want to do is I'm going to say contact info underscore social for the grid item. Okay, class name is equal to contact info underscore every social icon, right? And then for the link we don't need a class name, for the icon we don't need a class name. So we've added the class names, and let's go ahead and install them now. Okay, so for the CSS, let's resume. Okay, so let's add all of the CSSs for this file, right? For this class names. So first thing that I want to do is select the contact info. Okay, underscore item, right? Those are the individual items that we have. Item, and then another thing that we have is the contact info item, and then the span inside of the item. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And then another thing that we have is the socials container, so the buttons that we have, the entire container. And the last thing that we have is the icon inside that container, right? So the individual icons inside the container. Getting the message. Okay, cool. So let's start with the first one. So I'm gonna add 3 CSSs to this. Wait, what's the context info dot item? Context info underscore item. Wait, do we have that? Context info underscore item. Oh, for individual ones. Okay, cool. So let's add a color to it actually. A font size and a color to it, right? So font size and a color. Save that. We should change the color. All right, perfect. Next thing we want to do is I'm actually wait, is this spacing good enough? I think it kinda is, right? We can change it to 2 maybe. Okay, but we're gonna have to make this one black, right? So the span inside of the item, we're going to change it to black. So what I'm going to do is make it slightly more bold and change it to black as well. So for the span, let's make it black, and at the font rate, make it slightly more bold, right? So there we go. And then for the socials container, wait, let's play around with the icons first, right? So let's make the, give me a second, let's do that there. So we're gonna make the font size slightly smaller, and then have a margin right between each of these, and have a color of black. So save, wait, save. Cool, perfect. So it's almost like that, just slightly bigger. I think like it kind of looks better when it's bigger, but I want to add a margin top to between this and like the other container up there, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say margin top, margin dash top. Let's have 15px or 20px or 25px, I think. Right? Yeah, I think that should be fine. 25px, and I think we can decrease the spacing between every item a little maybe. So if I go back here, we have a spacing of 2. If I do spacing of 1, that's way too small though. I'm gonna use the line heights that's exactly here, and get rid of the spacing. So let's get rid of the spacing. I'm just trying to make it look exactly like that, right? Let's set the line heights here. Save. Okay, so this is the exact same spacing as this right here. And the only thing remaining is having the space right there, right? between the two items. So what I'm gonna do is we have a container. Okay, one side is LG5, the other side is LG7. So for this container, let's have some spacing of 5 maybe. That's what we got. Perfect. Yeah, I think this should do, right? Or maybe 6. Let's have it at 6. But yeah, that's all with the contact form, I guess. Other than that, there is nothing else, I guess. So we have the about me, which we've done. We have the working experience and education. We have the my services, we have the skills, and we have the contact form. Perfect. So yeah, that's it with the resume part. Next video, we're gonna do the portfolio.